Welcome back to Art Practice ASMR. As you can see, this is another Neon Genesis Evangelion video. And in this video, I draw Shinji Ikari. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Eva, Shinji is the main character, and he's sort of a controversial character. And that's because there are two types of people who have seen Eva. There are those who saw the series, and they loved Shinji, and they thought that he was very relatable. And then there are those who saw Eva, and they hated Shinji, and they wished that Shinji wasn't there to ruin the story. For me, I found Shinji to be the most relatable character. And because of that, I never really understood the hate that he gets. I always thought that it was just completely blown out of proportion. But recently, I've gained a sort of interest in why people hate him. So I've done a little bit of research, and I found a couple of theories as to why people do hate him. The first theory is actually the most common theory, and it's something that I've talked about in a previous video. And the theory states that people hate Shinji because he is an atypical main character. What that means is basically Shinji acts in ways that the average main character wouldn't act. And to put this into context for Evangelion, because deep down, Eva actually has a very cliched storyline. So, in Eva, the main character finds out that he is one of the few people who can control these giant robots that could save the world. And so he is rushed off to his father's headquarters, where most of the people working there are all beautiful women. And he ends up living with one of those beautiful women. And along the way, a bunch of girls are added to the story, and one by one they all fall in love with the main character. Now, in a normal anime, this main character will usually be handsome or charismatic. He'll be funny or smart or very strong, but he will always know what to do and how to fix the problems. And the girls are constantly falling head over heels for him, and they're always trying to confess their love, they just don't know how to word it. But in Evangelion, Shinji is afraid. He doesn't want to get hurt, and he doesn't want to hurt anyone. So instead of fighting, sometimes he just runs away. And the girls all feel complex emotions for him that can be translated into love, but the fact that they feel like they might love him just make them hate him. And so a lot of people would rather watch shows where the main character is beloved and he's strong and he knows what to do and he isn't constantly cowering in fear. But I think the people who would rather watch that don't understand the point of Shinji. A normal anime character is usually there to fulfill a power fantasy. Like Naruto or Goku, they will head straight into a battle, sometimes with no plan, and they'll just wing it. And usually they let the enemy power up to full power before they fight, because they want a fair and challenging fight. But Shinji isn't that way. He wants to win a fight as quickly as possible, because he doesn't want any casualties, including his own. And people sometimes don't understand that Eva isn't about fulfilling your power fantasies. It's about watching the mental degradation of these characters and how they all deal with these different traumatic experiences. And not only that, but people also keep forgetting that the main heroes of EVA are all child soldiers. They're all in junior high, so that's like 12 or 13 years old. So they are all terrified of what they're doing. And even the characters who act like it's no big deal, like Asuka, she is deep down scarred and scared, and you see that in the end of Evangelion movie, where she's basically reduced to a child. Now, this theory actually ties into another theory, which is people don't like Evangelion because they can relate to Shinji. And that's the exact opposite of how I feel. These people see Shinji and they see themselves, but they see all the worst parts of themselves. They see someone who's hiding from his problems. They see someone who's always crying or afraid. And they see someone who isn't seeing the big picture and manning up, I guess. And these people see that, and since they hate that in themselves, they automatically hate Shinji. And I understand that, but I just never thought about that. It's pretty interesting that someone could hate a character that I love because we both relate to that character. But when you think about it, it's not surprising, because the creator of Evangelion has stated that the parts of Eva that he hates are the parts where he sees himself. And it's well accepted amongst fans of Eva that Shinji is a self-insert character for the creator. So that's pretty interesting to think about. This next theory is something that I found very interesting, and that's because after all of my viewings of Evangelion, I never really considered this. And this theory basically states that Evangelion itself conditions you to hate Shinji through the eyes of the other characters and how they view Shinji. Now, as someone who could relate to Shinji, I instantly empathized with all of his problems. And for me, I understood that he is a character who is asked to do a bunch of unreasonable things. Shinji is basically plucked out of his regular life, and he's asked to risk his life for a bunch of people who he will never meet, and in some cases for people who don't even like him. And for me, that's how I could relate to him. But for a lot of people, and for people even within Evangelion, that is why they hate him, because they view him as someone who constantly disregards orders or runs away. And from Shinji's point of view, he's only run away twice, and he's only disregarded orders a couple of times. And he always has a good reason for it. But from other people's point of view in the series, he just constantly does it, and he's constantly a waste of their time. And the time that they spent looking for him, he could have defended the city a billion times. And through their eyes, he's just a major disappointment. And that's only through the eyes of people who work at NERV. But if you look at the citizens like Toji, when Toji first met Shinji, he beat him up. And that's because during Shinji's first piloting session, Toji's little sister got injured. And even though it took a toll on Shinji, especially because he didn't want to pilot the EVA in the first place, Toji immediately had a negative reaction to both of those things. Not only did Shinji cause his sister to get hurt, but Shinji didn't even want to be doing it in the first place. he feels like he's so ungrateful of his status and that he doesn't know where he belongs in the world. And I guess that rubs off on the audience because a lot of people must feel the same way. And as I said, that's not something that I realized, but it's pretty interesting now that you think about it because it makes a lot of sense. And with that, I have officially run out of things to say. So, hopefully, if you hated Shinji, you might now understand him more. Or, if you're a huge fan of Shinji, maybe you understand the other side of that more. Either way, I just hope you enjoyed this video. And that being said, I feel like I've made too many Eva videos, and I want to know if there's something that you guys want me to draw or talk about in my next video. So if you have any recommendations and you've made it this far, please leave your recommendation in the comments, and maybe I'll check it out and try it. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I wish you a good day or good night